New format. I streamlined the red zone report and added explosive plays data. I wanted to focus more on finding the weaknesses in matchups and to really zero in on those tournament takedown targets. The first part of the video will always be the same each week, an explanation of terms and methods. Next, we'll review the previous week's targets and see what we can learn. Then we'll show takedown target charts for each team. And finally, we'll look at those defensive matchups. Use what you like, lose what you don't. First, a few notes. I have to put an asterisk on this report. Stats for point after touchdown attempts are not kept. When doing play-by-play, many announcers are simply saying good or no good as if it was a kicking point after attempt. These stats are charted by me, so if the announcers don't make the call, I have to identify the players by number if I can. The first chart shows red zone defense for attempted touchdown passes and touchdown passes allowed, as well as rushing touchdown attempts and rushing touchdowns allowed. Finally, total red zone touchdown attempts and total red zone touchdowns allowed. The next chart shows total red zone defense. This basically takes the red zone defense stats and includes point after touchdown tries and conversions, showing us a total of red zone opportunities given for each team. The important thing to know is that I charted every attempt for a touchdown in the red zone and every 1 point, 2 point, or 3 point after attempt by both passing target and rush, ultimately giving us a number for total red zone attempts. I also charted where each of those attempts resulted in a score, giving us a number for total red zone scores. Explosive pass plays are pass plays greater than 20 yards. Explosive running plays are running plays greater than 20 yards. And explosive plays are explosive running plays plus explosive passive plays. Explosive pass plays against equals pass plays greater than 20 yards against the defense. Explosive running plays against are running plays greater than 20 yards against the defense. Total explosive plays against are explosive pass plays against plus explosive run plays against. Let's check out some results from last week's report. Looking at last week's results, what I notice is that each team's leading score is either from the running game or the passing game. If you evaluate the right matchup and come back to the takedown target charts, you should be able to find a suitable target. So I'm looking at the total red zone defense and the total number of explosive plays allowed, and I'm thinking, how do these numbers relate to each other? The thing is, when you sort them, you get very similar rankings. The teams that give up the most explosive plays also give up a lot of opportunities in the red zone. So I added them together and plugged them into the weekly schedule. I called it the Defensive Weakness Index, just for the lack of anything else to call it. But an interesting picture starts to develop. DC and Tampa Bay both have very similar defensive weakness indexes, which means it could be a very close game. It's really perfect for tournaments because you have a team in DC coming off a loss that looked good in the first two games, and you got a team in Tampa Bay looking for their first win. So you're hoping that possibly Tampa Bay could pull off the win, but they've been in such disarray this past week with Quinton Flowers leaving that I'm not sure if I would go that way. The strength of St. Louis is the running game, but if you look at Seattle, even though they've given up 10 rushing opportunities in the red zone, they have yet to give up a rushing touchdown in the red zone. New York has the worst defensive weakness index rating in the league by far. But if you look at the red zone defense, even though they've given up 39 plays in the red zone, they've only given up 4 red zone touchdowns. Even though New York gets Gentry back this week, their play calling has shown zero creativity. Dallas has the best defensive weakness index rating in the league. And Houston, even though they've been dominant, teams have been able to move up and down the field on them. If you were going to attack Houston, how would you do it? Well, they've given up 10 explosive passing plays and 0 rushing explosive passing plays. So we look at Dallas's takedown target chart. You'll see Parham at tight end with 3 explosive plays, 4 targets in the red zone, and 2 red zone scores. He's sure to be one of the most owned this week. Bedette at wide receiver has had 4 red zone targets and 0 explosive plays, and he's not that much cheaper than Parham. Nagel has had 3 red zone targets, 1 red zone score, but again no explosive plays, but he's about half as expensive as Parham. Then you have Price at tight end, who's had 3 red zone attempts but 1 explosive play, and he comes in at $3,700. Now, if you think that Houston can find a way to contain Parham, you might pivot down to Price. You could even go Price and Nagel, and it still wouldn't cost you as much as Parham. We learned so much each week, but after this week I think we'll really start to see the pack separate. We are still a new channel, so if you like the video, share it, comment, like, subscribe. It all helps.